Welcome to the Daily Report. Please like and subscribe for more awesome updates.
Hollywood loves secrets, but this one might just blow the whole system wide open. Behind the glitz and glam of It Ends With Us, a quiet war has been brewing, a war between Blake Lively and Wayfair Studios. Now, one document, one contract, threatens to expose everything. The money, the power, the promises, and the lies. It's the deal no one was ever supposed to see, and if it hits the light of day, it could rewrite the rules of fame, loyalty, and control in Hollywood. This is the story of the contract that could end it all. Buckle up, because if this lands the way it looks, Blake Lively could be exposed in the biggest way yet. This is exactly what I've been waiting for from day one. The document. The contract I've wanted to dig into, line by line, to see what was and wasn't in the agreement tied to her role as Lily Bloom in It Ends With Us. Here's the kicker. Despite suing for employment discrimination, she didn't attach her employment agreement, which you normally must include to prove there was a contract at all. She didn't do that, so why leave out the actor's loan-out agreement in the lawsuit? Why only submit the later writer agreement, the return-to-work protections after the fact? Was there something in the loan-out agreement, which notably she never signed, that would have put her in a less favorable light before the court? My read, yes. And the moment we see what's actually inside that agreement, everything could shift. Here's where it gets even messier. A recording and a declaration tied to claims that Justin Baldoni was verbally abusive are set to be unsealed. But there's a twist. Because of recent court procedures, sealed materials don't automatically appear on the public e-filing system. Instead, the parties swap them privately, and it's on Wayfair, Blake, and their teams to place those documents on the public docket. As of a day later, we still don't know what's on that recording or who made the declaration. It could land soon, but under the new rules, sealed filings aren't simply posted. Someone has to refile them for the public record. Meanwhile, the headline item is Blake's employment contract. The judge asked for a letter, either from Blake or from the other side, explaining why certain documents, like her employment agreement or CRD complaint, should remain sealed. Blake, so far, hasn't submitted a letter pushing to keep them sealed. And because Wayfair is a party to the contract and filed those papers, they just told the judge they want to withdraw their request to seal Blake's loan-out agreement. If that agreement hits the public docket, the fine print could rewrite the entire narrative. Want to know what could light this case on fire? The standard actor agreement, because it spells out power, money, and control. A typical agreement lays out the base salary, per project or per episode, bonuses, and box office participation, things like profit shares, back-end points, or producer credits. Remember those emails we saw under seal? They referenced lawyers discussing box office bonuses for actors and when those payouts might be distributed. That's the money trail. Then come the perks. First-class travel, trailers, glam teams, assistants, basically the on-set support to keep talent comfortable. You also get credit placement, where and how the name appears. Blake Lively, starring It Ends With Us. Blake Lively, producer, and so on. Add the marketing commitments, required interviews, press days, and social media posts. From this, we'll learn what she was actually paid, which may differ from the public speculation of $3 million. That's only been a rumor so far. We'll also see whether she had creative control or producer status, critical to any claim that she lacked authority, and the timeline showing when she became attached versus when Wayfair started developing the project. Expect clauses on creative control and approval rights. Are script revisions allowed? Does she have final script approval? Director or co-star approval? Any say in final cut consultation? Wayfair says she didn't have that. You'll also see approvals over wardrobe, hair and makeup, photos, and trailers. If those sections are unsealed, they'll show whether she was a true decision maker, which would make her actions and any alleged misrepresentations legally relevant. And that's before we even touch the morality and confidentiality clauses, the ones that can end deals overnight. Here's where things get dangerously interesting. The fine print that can make or break a Hollywood career. Morality, confidentiality, and exclusivity clauses. Every standard actor contract includes them. But these clauses aren't just paperwork. They're protection shields for studios. A morality clause gives the production power to terminate an actor's deal instantly if their conduct damages the project's image. One misstep, one headline, one viral comment, and the entire contract can collapse. Then there's the confidentiality clause, the silent guardian of secrets. It stops actors from spilling details, leaking scripts, or airing behind-the-scenes tension that could derail production. And finally, the exclusivity clause keeps the actor tied to the project. No competing roles, no rival projects, nothing that splits focus. If Blake Lively's contract includes a particularly strict morality clause, it could explain her legal team's effort to keep it sealed. Breaching that clause, even unintentionally, can mean massive penalties or immediate termination. And when a clause like that lines up with her ongoing issues with Wayfair, you can see why the tension's sky high. Because the real question isn't just if that clause exists, but how far it goes, and who it was really built to protect. Just when you think the contract drama couldn't get messier, enter the indemnification clause, the one line that quietly decides who pays when everything falls apart. This clause determines who shoulders the financial blame if something goes wrong. If an actor's behavior triggers bad press or lawsuits that cost the studio money, the studio can demand that the actor foot the bill. If Blake Lively's actions caused financial fallout, she might literally be paying for it. But indemnification cuts both ways. If Wayfair failed to meet its obligations, unsafe sets, broken promises, or contract breaches, they'd owe her compensation. These clauses don't just share risk, they expose who the studio trusted more. If the terms favor Wayfair, it means they were bracing for turbulence from Blake's side. If they lean toward Blake, it means the studio prioritized protecting her brand and relationship. Because once we see who the contract was written to protect, we'll finally know who was holding the real power all along. Here's where contracts stop being polite and start getting brutal. The penalty clauses, where broken promises turn into legal warfare. These sections define the consequences of crossing the line. For actors, it could mean losing pay, repaying advances, or facing lawsuits for damages. For studios, it might mean paying out the rest of the contract or covering lost profits. Penalty clauses exist to keep both sides honest, but they also expose who had leverage when the deal was signed. If Blake's penalties are unusually harsh, it might suggest the studio didn't fully trust her. But if Wayfair's penalties are heavier, maybe they were the ones desperate to keep her name attached. Because when those terms hit the public record, they won't just show who broke the rules, they'll reveal who was trapped by them from the very start. This is the moment everything could change, the turning point that could flip this entire story on its head. If the judge unseals Blake Lively's contract, the truth comes out. The money, the power, the timeline, and the control. Every clause and signature tells a story of what happened behind closed doors. If anything in that document contradicts her claims, it could blow up her narrative overnight. But if the contract supports her, Wayfair's entire defense could collapse instead. At this point, it's no longer about one case. It's about credibility, reputation, and who really controls the narrative. Once the contract goes public, there's no way to hide behind PR spin. Because once those pages see daylight, someone's entire career, maybe even their legacy, won't look the same again. All eyes are on the courtroom now, because whatever happens next could shake Hollywood to its core. Will the judge make Blake Lively's contract public? Will Wayfair actually follow through and file it? Or will her legal team make one last attempt to keep it sealed? The next few days could redefine how Hollywood handles power, contracts, and accountability. Because if that document comes out, it sets a precedent, a warning shot to every actor, producer, and studio exec that the fine print can become front-page news overnight. Behind those sealed files isn't just a contract, it's a mirror reflecting how the system really works. And when it cracks open, everyone will see who's truly protected and who never was. Because once that contract hits the light of day, it won't just change this case, it might change Hollywood forever. Hollywood loves secrets, but this one might just blow the whole system wide open. Behind the glitz and glam of It Ends With Us, a quiet war has been brewing, a war between Blake Lively and Wayfair Studios. Now, one document, one contract, threatens to expose everything: the money, the power, the promises, and the lies. It's the deal no one was ever supposed to see. And if it hits the light of day, it could rewrite the rules of fame, loyalty, and control in Hollywood. This is the story of the contract that could end it all.